The final episode of Sports Paws is here, and we have a loaded show, a ton of action this past weekend, and a lot of it had to do with playoff implications.
Maury, the women's golf NCAA tournament field is set. We tell you who and where the Bobcats will be playing.
And the baseball team had business to take care of against Canisius, one of the perennial teams in the MAC, but could it remain perfect at home?
All that and more. Sports Paws starts right now. Good evening and welcome to Sports Paws. Alongside Maury Hirsch-Gordon, I'm Andrew Badillo.
Let's not waste any time, Andrew. The women's tennis team was in New Jersey this past weekend for the MAC championships, looking to stay undefeated. And on Friday, they faced Fairfield in the semifinals and made very easy work of the Stags. For the second time in 2 weeks, the Bobcats cruised to a sweep, advancing to the championship match against Siena. And in that one, Quinnipiac won the best of three series in doubles play to take a 1-0 lead early. However, the Saints won 2 of the next 3 in singles play to tie things up at 2. Jennifer Liu and Sydney Young then finished things off to clinch the 4-2 win and the program's 4th straight MAC title. The 2017 class finishes an unprecedented 38-0 in conference play, and the team will find out its NCAA tournament location on Tuesday night. And the women's golf team is also going dancing. John O'Connor's squad won back-to-back MAC titles. And Andrew, you were there at the selection show, and let's see what the Bobcats are going to say.
For the second straight year, Quinnipiac women's golf is going dancing. This year, down to Athens, Georgia.
It's the place that I wanted to go to. It's an easy trip for us. I think it's a special course and very excited for the team. The girls are very happy about it.
The Bobcats are one of 18 teams that will be playing in the Athens region. The top 6 advance to the NCAA championship.
Well, certainly to enjoy the time. We're going to be up against very difficult competition. If we can beat 1 or 2 of those teams, that would be my goal at this point.
The blue and gold will be teeing off with some of the best talent in the country, with 5 of the 18 teams ranked in the top 25.
We know there's going to be a lot of tough competition there. We're going to try our best. We're going to go down there giving it 100% effort, no matter what we think that we're going to come in place-wise.
In addition to the elite talent, the NCAA tournament presents another challenge, one that will put each team's length to the test.
NCAA regionals are played at a longer distance than we're used to, so all this week we'll be practicing from the blue tees at our home course just to try to prepare ourselves.
And for Julia Kemling, the trip means a little more, as one of her best friends plays on North Carolina, one of the 18 teams.
I'm so excited. I FaceTimed her as soon as we found out. We're both really thrilled. We haven't gotten to play against each other since we were in high school, so it's going to be so awesome.
The NCAA regional begins May 8th, and the Bobcats will look to improve on their result from last season. Reporting in Hamden, Andrew Badillo, Q30 Sports.
Success in sports is based on numbers. A 4-13 season sounds bad, but don't judge a book by its cover. Picked last in the MAC preseason poll, the Bobcats went 3-5 in conference play and made the MAC playoffs for the first time in program history. Certainly a big achievement for the women's lacrosse team, a team that had just 4 conference victory, Maury, in the past 3 seasons since it joined the MAC in 2013. Now let's take a look at the playoff field. Here's the bracket featuring the top 6 teams in conference. There you see it, Quinnipiac taking on Marist in the first round. It was the 6th seed. Q lost 10-4 to Marist earlier this season. And hey, Maury, it was the first MAC postseason, again, as I mentioned, for women's lacrosse in program history.
Andrew, let's check it out. Let's see if the Bobcats could advance past the Marist Red Foxes. Bobcats did lose to the Red Foxes in regular season play, but it's hard to sweep a team, so let's see if Quinnipiac could challenge them. Unfortunately, Haley Wagner was quite the issue for this women's lacrosse team. She won 21 of 29 draws. Marist won 25 of the 29. And then when you get the ball in lacrosse and you win it off the X, as long as you take care of the ball and you convert, good things will happen. An array of goals from Marist. They would go on to win 17-10. Quinnipiac, though, a fantastic season, having the most wins in conference history in the Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference.
All right, Maury. Now Drew Feinberg is standing by with women's lacrosse goalie Kyle Larkin. Drew.
Thanks, guys. I'm joined by Kyle Larkin. Kyle, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start it off with your head coach, Tanya Kotowitz, her first year in the program. Brought you guys to your first ever MAC playoff in program history. What sort of things did she implement to get you guys to where you are today?
I think it just started from day one of practice. We, instead of walking up the sleeping giant, we actually ran up, and the motto was no teammate left behind, you don't stop, you don't give up, and you don't look back. And I think just having that motto from the beginning really had us know where we're held to with standards with her, and it really paid off in the long run. We had no days off with her, and it led us to where we needed to get to.
So you guys did not play any home games actually on campus. You had to travel to Reese Stadium in New Haven. How do you think that affected your team as a whole going forward, or as a whole this season?
I mean, I don't think it affected us in a negative way. We kind of just found it as our new home. Right down the road, it was a 15-minute bus ride, and we actually got a lot of new traditions through traveling to a new stadium, and we have a lot of good memories from traveling there. So I think we took what we could do with it and made it our own.
So earning a MAC playoff berth for the first time in history, how much does that mean to you and the rest of your team as being known as the first team to actually make it to the playoffs in this program?
I think it's really cool to make history, and just being a part of it as now a junior. We finally got to leave a mark of what we wanted to do here, and it's really cool to know that we actually accomplished it.
And I know your first playoff game didn't go exactly how you wanted to go, but what do you think you and your teammates learned from this experience as a whole?
I think we learned to not give up anymore. We recognized, reflecting on the game, that the last 15 minutes were just it wasn't the team that we were the entire season. So now we know going next year that that's not going to be a component of our team.
And going off of that, looking to the future, you're going to be a senior next year. What are your goals, not only for next year, but for the program when you leave going forward?
Just that we now have a tradition of excellence. We're not known as a team where you just come on and take days off and you're just here for the ride. We're actually going to prove to the school that we're meant to be a program that should stay at this university.
And give me one word to describe this season to you, what it has meant to you.
It's not one word, it's two, but it's never settle. That was our motto the entire season, never settle, and I don't think we did. We always found a lesson to be learned in every loss or every play or something.
Yep. Well, that's going to do it for us. Thank you for joining me, Kyle.
Thank you.
Guys, back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Drew. Without a doubt, that women's lacrosse team will be back next year, and they might even have a chance to get a home playoff game in the first round. But sticking on main campus, the baseball team was back in action against state foe Hartford on Wednesday, and for the second time this season, the Hawks edged the Bobcats, this time by a final score of 6-5. Hartford's top three batters in the lineup did most of the damage on the afternoon, going 7 for 12, scoring 4 runs and driving in 3. Bobcats freshman pitcher Blake Dakar took the loss in 4 innings of work, stranding 5 hits and allowing 3 earned runs.
All right, Maury, now let's switch over to conference play. Bobcats looking to ride the offensive power surge in the rubber match with the Golden Griffins. Oh, I'm sorry, we're going to head into game 1. I jumped the gun a little bit there. Canisius getting to go early on in the first inning. Bobcats not really able to settle in early on. Canisius pounding hits into right field, into left field. They are up 3-0 still in the first inning. Bobcats not even able to get up at bat yet. Canisius still going strong. At this point, it is 4-0 Golden Griffs. Bobcats need all the wins that they can get and not starting off the game strong. Here you go, sacrifice fly. That will be the last run of the inning for the Golden Griffins. Bobcats in an early hole, but Liam Scaffariello did all he could to inch the Bobcats closer. There you go, the power guy. The ball didn't land yet. Probably landed over the mountain in Cheshire, Maury. What a missile, and he would do it again. Check this out. To right field, and it is out of here over Rizzo's Ridge. What a bomb. At this point, the Bobcats are down 6-4, but head into the 7th inning with a man on 2nd and 2 outs. Joey Burns is going to strike out, and that will be all for the Bobcats. They fall 10-6.
Bobcats, that was their first loss at home in conference play. Let's see if they could right the ships. Just a few hours later in the first inning, Ben Gibson, grand slam home run. This is a kid who hit about .290 his freshman year, a team that almost went to that MAC championship game, making the most out of his time. Quinnipiac up 4-1. In the second inning, Matt Batten, not known for his power, no doubt about it.
Matty Bats.
Matty Bats, Batty Mats, the smooth fielding shortstop, launches his only 5th career home run. Bobcats up 7-4, and Chris Conley home run for Canisius there to make it 7-4. But Mike Davis has been lights out on the mound. A .44 ERA for the closer, who was almost cut coming into this year. Bobcats win 7-4.
Huge win for the Bobcats, and they look to ride the offensive power surge in the rubber match. But the Golden Griffins, their pitching proved to be too much for the Bobcats. Andrew Sipowicz pitched a gem for the Golden Griffins, going 6 innings while only giving up 4 hits and 2 earned runs. Matt Benton hit his second home run in as many games as Matty Bats-Maury for the Bobcats. Robbie Hitt went 7 strong innings in the losing effort. QU is now 2-7 in Game 3s this season.
Let's check out the MAC standings, Andrew. Bobcats lose 2 out of 3. That puts them in 8th. 8-10, actually, not 8-9. It's a mistake on our part. We apologize. They lost the Canisius series, which you just saw. They lost to Niagara in 6th. They got swept by Monmouth. The top 6 make the playoffs, so the Bobcats need at least 6 more wins, all 6. They need to sweep Manhattan and Fairfield to end the season at 14-10, and that only maybe will give them a slim shot at the 6th and final playoff spot.
Tall task for the Bobcats, Maury, but we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Casey Herzog and Abby Long have been rocks in the circle for softball this season. Could they keep the Bobcats in the playoff hunt this weekend against Canisius, though?
And the men's tennis team enters the playoffs with redemption on its mind. Why? We'll tell you when you come back.
Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown.
Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown.
And welcome into Studio 125.
So what? If you score 40 points in a basketball game, we all know you play Quinnipiac Intramurals. We all know you love to shoot the rock.
Well, if you think that's the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, what I'm about to say, I guess, is going to be pretty ridiculous in your book. But I'm going to say, yes, there is a controversy.
Line, getting ready to punch the ball as it lands right in front of another Monmouth player.
Coming up on Hashtag That. We are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Hello, Quinnipiac hockey fans, and welcome to the Neutral Zone.
Definitely St. Lawrence, and I think you're going to see the test coming up real soon.
They might be having a bit of an adjustment issue without that CBS line, but don't count them out.
At High Point Solutions Arena in Game 2 of Quinnipiac vs. Northeastern Series.
All this and more.
Coming up on the Q30 Newscast.
Welcome back to Sports Paws. After losing the MAC championship in a tiebreaker last season, the men's tennis team began its quest for redemption Saturday in the MAC tournament semifinals against Marist. However, the Bobcats' hope of returning to the championship match ended at the hands of the Red Foxes. Marist dominated Quinnipiac, winning every single doubles and singles match en route to a 4-0 victory. The Bobcats finished the season 10-11 and at 5-2 in conference play. And Maury, every team has that player, one who fires up the squad and makes sure that every player is on his or her game.
Kyle Alper is that player for the Quinnipiac men's tennis team, Andrew, and Dylan Fearon has more.
If you've been to a Quinnipiac men's tennis match this season, then you've probably heard this guy.
Come on! Go!
His name is Kyle Alper, and he is the voice of the Bobcats this year.
I'm probably one of the more vocal ones on the team, and I definitely try to step up and, show the large freshman class that we have what we're about.
He's that guy everybody rallies around. He's the one always looking to get everyone together, keeping the team together, doing certain things. He's truly is a leader for this team, an emotional leader and a physical leader as well.
It took time for Alper to make a name for himself within the program. His freshman year, he was not on athletic scholarship and had to fight to make it onto the court.
When I came in through the fall, I kind of had to prove to Chris, prove to myself, prove to the team that I could get in the lineup. And by springtime, I was steadily in the singles lineup for conference, and I did not play doubles, actually.
But with hard work and practice, Alper broke through and solidified himself in the singles lineup and the doubles, which he's been playing with Captain Kei Azaka for the past 2 years.
For me, he's one of the biggest inspiration for me on the team because every time he's on court, he fights, he doesn't give up. So when I'm on court with him, I can't give up.
One of Alper's strongest attributes, according to Pappas, is his growth. From just a kid on Long Island, Alper has become the heart and soul of the men's tennis program.
Kyle was the same person his freshman year as he is now. His game has developed, but he's always played with that incredible emotion and intensity, and that's one of the things that we love about him and we rally around.
Alper may be known for his intensity, but his tennis skills aren't too shabby either. The junior boasts an 8-2 conference record, and Pappas says it's intelligence that wins him matches.
Kyle's best attribute is how smart he is. He's generally, when he's on the court, he's usually the smartest person on the court. He's able to play at a pace where he can figure out what he needs to do to get his points or figure out what the opponent's doing so he can counteract it.
After all these years, hearing him, now it's a great inspiration for me. And how much I trust him on court, off court, is how he grew in these 3 years and build a relationship between us.
Reporting in Hamden, Dylan Fearon, Q30 Sports.
The softball team made its annual trip to Buffalo, New York this weekend for 2 against Niagara and 2 against Canisius. They got swept 2-0 and 8-6 against Niagara, and actually Quinnipiac was no hit in that first game against the Purple Eagles. But let's take you to the highlights from Canisius. Quinnipiac in desperate need to win a game. Desperate need. Quinnipiac would be down 3-2 in the top of the 5th inning, playing on that AstroTurf, one of my favorite fields in the MAC. Casey Herzog helping her team out, singled down the right field line. That would tie things at 3 later in the 5th. A little looper, deep short, second baseman drags it down, 1 hop off the turf. See you later. Rebecca Drake, you're out by a mile. Quinnipiac would still be tied 3-3. Canisius, though, last ups in softball or baseball really helps out when you're at home. Canisius, the walk-off hit. Mariah Harris, the hero for the Golden Griffins, and they would go on to win 4-3.
Hey, Maury, that's a rough way to end the game. It would be a rough way, too. Canisius winning in walk-off fashion in Game 2. So Quinnipiac went 0-4 in MAC play over the weekend, and Maury, they need every win that they can get, much like their counterparts, the baseball team. Let's take a look at the MAC standings after the weekend. There you see it. Top 6 teams are set in as of tonight. There you see Quinnipiac in 9th place. Top 6 once again make the MAC tournament with 4 games left. Quinnipiac is 1 game back of Fairfield and Niagara for that coveted 6th spot. Looks like they're going to be a little bit out of reach of Monmouth at the 5 and Marist at the 4. But hey, Maury, we never know. 4 games left in the season. Exciting time. Playoffs. Best time of the spring season.
Team made a crazy run last year when they were 6th, and it was one of the first times they made the MAC playoffs, much like the women's lacrosse team, and they made a run to the semifinals. We'll see if they can get to the playoffs this year. But the acrobatics and tumbling team was in the national tournament. They were the number 3 seed in the NCATA national tournament this weekend out in California. And in the quarterfinals, the team rallied late to knock off 6th seed Alderson Broadus by 6 points. But in the semifinals, Quinnipiac's 6-game winning streak came to an end. The Baylor Bears beat the Bobcats handily and then finished off top seed Oregon in the national championship game. Seniors Kelsey Rule and Allie Tallman were each named All-Americans for the 2nd time in their careers. And when we come back, Andrew, on Sports Paws, Sierra Goodwill will stop by to discuss the men's lacrosse team season.
And more, we reveal our top 5 moments of the year. You won't want to miss it. We'll be right back here on Sports Paws.
It's 9:30 Eastern, and you know what that means. Sports Paws is on the air.
Ball played up the middle. Emmanuel with a little cheat off the play. Preseason just boils down to going after another national championship and not necessarily focusing on the one before.
And
RJ. It is time for our favorite part of the show. It's the top 5 plays of the week, brought to you by B&D Deli, home of the Q-Dog.
Let's talk about the first play you want to break down.
Yeah, let's break it down right away.
But the one name I'm going to throw out there is a freshman, Mika Maples.
Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown.
Coming up on Bobcat Breakdown.
And welcome into Studio 125.
So what? If you score 40 points in a basketball game, we all know you play Quinnipiac intramurals. We all know you love to shoot the rock.
Well, if you think that's the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, what I'm about to say, I guess, is going to be pretty ridiculous in your book. But I'm going to say yes, there is a controversy.
I'm getting ready to punch the ball as it lands right in front of another Monmouth player.
Coming up on hashtag that. We are your source for Quinnipiac's entertainment news.
Welcome back to Sports Paws. For the first time since 2014, the men's lacrosse team will not be playing in the postseason. Despite being eliminated from playoff contention, the team still had one more game left to finish out the regular season. It traveled up to Buffalo, like the softball team. Canisius in the playoffs, Quinnipiac not in the playoffs. But Quinnipiac would try to end their season on a high note, and boy, did they get some great play out of their sophomore attack early on. Foster Cuomo came into the game with just 11 goals in 10 games, but they're an absolute missile to tie things up at 1. Canisius would take a quick 2-1 lead, but Cuomo, look at that. His offhand, the right hand, gathers the ball, puts it home for his second of the first period, and then again, wraparound from his knees, a hat trick for Cuomo in the first. Things would be tied up at 3. However, in the second quarter, Eric Gold, nice move around Brust in the defense. Canisius took a 2-goal advantage into the break, and then late in the third quarter, the ball skips over Jack Brust. Canisius would take that 1-goal lead into the fourth quarter, and they could not play 60 minutes like it has been the story all season long. The Quinnipiac men's lacrosse team falls to Canisius 10-6 and finishes out their season at 2-9.
Maury, it was a rough year for the men's lacrosse team. Now we're going to bring in our men's lacrosse analyst, Sierra Goodwill, to go over the season. Sierra, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, guys.
Sierra, it was a pretty wild year to say the least, and one we weren't expecting from this Bobcats team that made history last year. Why did things unravel, and why did this team underachieve and not make the playoffs?
Well, it was pretty apparent all season long. This team missed a defensive and midfield core, and a lot of that comes from graduating great talent, great defensive talent, and great leaders in Ryan Lawler, Chris Kendall, Nate Niblank, Connor Meth. Every defender on this roster now, with the exception of one player, is an underclassman. And that youth just lacks the maturity to close out games. They weren't out of a single MAC game this season. And aside from their last game against Canisius, they lost every game by 2 goals or less. And that's just youth. That's just lacking the maturity, the confidence, the composure to finish out games. And that will come with age.
All right, Sierra. So in your opinion, what players underperformed this year for the Bobcats?
And it might sound crazy, Andrew, but I don't think anyone underperformed. You look at the offensive firepower, and Brian Feldman had 30 goals. Clearly no underperformance there. And then you look at Drew D'Antonio and Foster Cuomo. It may seem like they underperformed because they finished with less goals, but that's simply because they played less games. They didn't make it to the playoffs, and those two players exploded in the postseason. So really, those players were right on track with their regular season offensive performance. Jack Brust did all he could do with a struggling defense and limited playing time. So I don't think anyone underperformed.
So who do they rely on next year to make sure that they get back on track and head into the playoffs?
I think that they can rely on everybody. I think just they're only losing Jack Brust, but like I said, he was battling injury. So the freshman Joe Zukakis was able to get some time in net, which will be extremely helpful going forward because he got some live game time reps. He knows the feel of the college pace. So I think going forward, the youth of this team will get that maturity. They have the offense, the off season to get stronger and better, and they have a promising future ahead of them.
Sierra Goodwill, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, Maury, when you think of Quinnipiac sports, the first thing that comes to mind is men's ice hockey or women's basketball, but we often overlook teams and athletes that also achieve historical feats. By no means am I downplaying the 2 Frozen Fours made by the men's ice hockey team or the Sweet 16 run by women's basketball, but it would be unjust to not give recognition to those who have achieved greatness. And yes, Jessica Lee did just that this past weekend at the Penn Relays, where she cemented herself, Maury, in the Quinnipiac record books. Lee shocked the field, finishing 3rd in the 100-meter hurdles, tying a personal record with a time of 13.56 seconds. She finished ahead of 3 of the top 50 hurdlers in the country and actually ran less than a second slower than Nia Ali, who won the silver medal at the same event, the 2016 Olympics.
Wow. Quite the accomplishment for the Bobcats. I saw she was up there with likes of athletes from Oregon, from San Diego State, and from Power 5 schools. So to see Quinnipiac on that stage, it's pretty rare and quite the accomplishment for Lee.
All right, Maury. Well, with this being the last show of the year, it's only appropriate that we revisit some of the top moments from this past year.
Thanks, guys. It's time to take a look at the 2016-2017 top moments of the Quinnipiac sports years. And these aren't the top plays or the top players of the year, but they're the greatest achievements that each team had throughout the year. And we're going to start with women's lacrosse advancing to their first playoffs in program history for a team that has struggled since joining the MAC. It's really been a great achievement for them to actually make it to the playoffs. Head coach Tanya Konowicz, in her first year at the helm, has done an excellent job turning this program into one that could potentially make the MAC year in and year out. Moving on to number 4, it's men's soccer. After a lackluster year last season, where they went 1-5-4 in the MAC, they ended up making it back to the big dance, winning the MAC regular season championship, and then ending up losing against Ryder in the championship game here at Quinnipiac, where they hosted the whole playoffs. Ian Whalen and Chris Yakovitis, with Whalen winning the MAC Rookie of the Year, adds some hope to this future where they should be strong for the next few years. And at number 3, another fall sports team, women's volleyball, making it to the MAC finals. What a Cinderella story we have here. For a team that went 1-17 and 0-20 in the MAC for the past 2 years, going 11-7 and ending up making it to the MAC championship game. And yes, they did fall to Fairfield in the championship, but Fairfield has won 4 of the last 5 MAC championships. They've made it to 17 finals, where it's Quinnipiac's first ever, so the odds were really against them. Coming in at number 2 is women's rugby, who won their second national championship in a row. An excellent season. They won games 213-0. They defeated their arch rival Central Washington in the championship game when it really mattered. Just an excellent season. 6 All-Americans on their roster, and they really solidified that they are a dynasty in the collegiate rugby world. An excellent job from them this season, and their championship is the number 2 moment of the Quinnipiac sports year. And at number 1, I think we all know it was coming, but it is women's basketball, making it to the Sweet 16, the first time ever in program history. This team really just spread the Quinnipiac name out there across the country, appearing on ESPN, all news outlets throughout the country. Quinnipiac's whole campus really rallied behind this team, and just an excellent moment. So that's my top 5. Quinnipiac women's basketball gets the top spot. Andrew, Maury, back to you guys.
All right, Maury, those were the moments. Here are the plays for the last time, presented by B&D Deli Works. Open for breakfast and lunch. Come on in and try the Quinnipiac Panini or Q-Dog sub. I'll start it off at number 5. Clayton Frank is going to fire a bullet. There it is. By Jack Bruss. Marist takes on Canisius in the MAC semis on May 5th.
Keelan Ives up top to Khalil Thomas, a team that put up over 100 points against Quinnipiac that night.
All right, Maury, number 3 play. Fairfield defender makes an absolutely amazing sliding save right there on the Bobcats. He lose to Ryder in the MAC ship.
Looks like I got another men's basketball. Peter Kiss, you'll see that one in scarlet and black in a couple years.
All right, number 1, Nick Germain. Check it out. Whoop! There it is, right through the legs of the Brown defender. Crowd loves it. His teammates love it. Quinnipiac men's ice hockey, down year, but you know their pedigree.
23 wins is a down year for
Down
this,
year for them. They'll be back
for this
next
Grand
year.
Pecknell team.
Well, that'll be it for this edition of Sports Paws. Special thanks to the entire producer staff and everyone behind the scenes for an absolutely tremendous year.
And we want to wish the best of luck to everyone next year as they set the bar higher and higher each and every year, and they continue to achieve great things.
For more information, please visit our website at q30television.com and check us out on social media at Q30 Sports.
On behalf of our crew, we hope you have a relaxing summer, and we'll see you in the fall.